Tennessee plays like shit, but Kentucky played worse.
An actual banana could have kicked better field goals than Max Gilbert, bro.
I'm Shea. This is Banana. Welcome to the Volcast. Tennessee beats Kentucky 28-18 during their Dark Mode Halloween special. We're going to go over our thoughts and predictions.
Yeah, that game was pretty scary for both teams, to be honest, especially for our receivers and for Max Gilbert. They were that close to losing to a terrible Kentucky team, but we finally get like I won't say Nico breakout game, but he finally played good. We were talking in an earlier episode that Nico hasn't really won any games for us, and I really feel like he kind of won us this game. Obviously, Sampson broke the record. We love that. And our defense has usually been winning games for us, but I thought our defense played all right this game. It's probably the worst it's been in the past 2 weeks because that Kentucky offense was not good coming into this game. And then when Vandergriff went out, Wimsatt was able to do some stuff, but overall they looked really uncomfortable, and he just didn't really look like he was ready for the moment,
Yeah, it feels like our team can never get on the same page. If one section of our team is playing really well, the other half is going to play really bad.
Yep.
The defense didn't play bad, but
no, they didn't play bad. We got consistent pressure all game. James Pierce, didn't show up in the box or the box score a whole lot, but he was all over the field. He leads the country in pressure rate. I believe around 21, probably higher after this game, but between 21 and 23%. And you could tell, he was just in Wimsatt or Vandergriff's face all game. That sack that Vandergriff went out, he ran him over. That was a horrible sack.
No, he was not seen after that. And Will Brooks, he played really well too.
Yeah, dude.
He is probably second best behind McCoy.
In the secondary?
In the secondary, yeah.
I wasn't very happy with Ricky Gibson. And Turrentine is he was okay, but he's a veteran leader type of player.
He did something too. What'd he do?
He had a play at the beginning of the game, a good tackle, but he might have got hurt.
He had a pick.
But Turrentine had a pick. Oh, yeah, the tip. That was the tip pick at the beginning of the game. You're right. But, yeah, Will Brooks has been I don't know how well the country is aware of Will Brooks, but he has been our underlying savior, I guess, this year. He's had so many good plays. He obviously the walk-on story is great. But yeah, we love Will Brooks. he sealed the game against Alabama, and then he got that interception against Kentucky. He should have taken it all the way that.
That was weird.
Unhook the trailer, buddy. Come on.
Are you that slow? The white boy speed is showing off there.
Yeah, it's odd. He's not out there to show off his speed.
But I guess when I'm thinking of the defense not playing amazingly, we had the 3 turnovers. That's awesome. A lot of pressure, like you said. But I don't know. I was thinking the secondary was kind of getting mossed on. McCoy, he gets beat. Not even beat. He just got, dude just caught the ball somehow. I think McCoy did absolutely everything he could.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not disappointed in that at all. And then, you were saying something about Gibson. He looked bad.
He looked bad. I don't really think he's looked that good all season. He's kind of been thrust into a new role, right, where he, before the season, he could have been the number one guy. He was the number one guy against Iowa last season in the bowl game. Obviously, they had no receivers to put pressure on their corners because they were terrible offensively.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't been very happy with him. He's still pretty young. I think he's a sophomore as well. And yeah, he'll it'll take some time maybe for him to get better. But yeah, overall our defense, I'm not happy with it, but it played if this is a bad game for them, then we're fine with that.
Yeah, true.
I just thought Kentucky was able to do more things. They were able to execute better than I thought they would have going into the game. 18 points is a lot of points against our defense, in my opinion, but it's all right.
Yeah, especially when you look back at their game last weekend. They looked terrible.
Right.
Against Auburn.
Right.
And then so offensively, this is Nico's breakout game.
Right.
A lot of people would say it was either his first ever game or maybe one of the games at the beginning of the season, but you could just tell he really had it in this game. Mm-hmm. His receivers let him down big time.
Yes.
And I'm just in shock by that.
It is really, what you were saying earlier was right. It's super frustrating that, our receivers might have a good game, which hasn't really happened this year, but Nico will play bad.
Mm-hmm.
Today or yesterday, it was Nico plays really well. The thing I liked most about Nico yesterday is how consistent he was.
Yeah.
He only had like 3 passes that were just bad. The rest were either good coverage or drops, like we're saying. But oh my God, that ball to Brazel at the beginning of the game, bro, like that was a Hendon Hooker type of throw. It just went right through his hand.
That was his best throw probably ever.
Yeah.
I think Brazel he was just shocked that it was actually in his hands.
Yeah.
He's used to like really having to stretch out for it.
Yeah.
He just wasn't expecting it to hit his hands, and same with Nimrod. Nimrod also, that was a beautiful
That throw
pass.
might have been better actually, because it was between 2 Kentucky defenders, and like I feel like we've seen something like that with Jalen Hyatt. I mean, he wears the same number, right?
Yeah.
He just dropped it.
Yeah.
That was a touchdown. That was a perfect throw.
No, yeah, because you think of Hyatt, you think of him catching it right in the middle of the field like that,
and then just taking off.
Yeah, going straight up and scoring. And I think Miles Kitzelman.
Oh yeah,
he had a breakout game.
Of course, yeah, dude. Yeah, we didn't even talk about him.
He was just like he was our first drive savior.
Right.
What happened on that first drive? We missed the field goal.
Yeah, of course. You can say that about every drive.
There was a lot more screens in this game than last game.
I was schematically, I was a little bit more okay with that this game. Kentucky's like power, or I guess their strength of their team, is in their front 7. They did have a lot of guys injured, which we were lucky about that, I guess. But we're attacking. I don't really think Kentucky has a weakness defensively, like a glaring weakness, but we're just avoiding their strengths. Sampson did get 27 carries.
Yeah.
Their run defense is not very good, but I think it's like just as a whole, their front 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sampson got 27 carries. They really held him in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
But just like in that Auburn game, they just eventually just could not take the continuous punches of the run game. And then Sampson, had like 150 yards, something around there.
Yeah, dude, this is the most Dylan Sampson stat line ever. 27 carries, 150, two touchdowns.
But yeah, the screens, they were really playing back. And that's the thing that I was impressed with Kentucky. They were dropping damn near like 8 people every play. They weren't really blitzing a lot, and they were still containing Dylan Sampson pretty well. So when they drop all those guys to make Nico hit those windows, then you throw the screen, right?
Is that Mark Stoops being a veteran coach?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think they executed – we did screw up a lot, but they executed their game plan pretty well in the first half, like all things considered. And they beat us in the first half.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, but we should have had around 45 points in this game.
Yep.
I mean, obviously 9 points off just from the field goals, and then 3 drop touchdowns.
Yes.
So, it's just kind of the story of this offense is we haven't really clicked. Besides Sampson being the glue that holds us all together, and penalties on 3rd and 15s, and then the opposing team gets a penalty for us.
Yep.
That's kind of been what is driving us down the field. Nico and the receivers really got to get on the same page if we get into the playoffs or the SEC championship. I don't think any of that will slide once we get there.
That's what I was going to say next. Is looking forward, Georgia, the playoffs, and then possibly Vanderbilt as well.
Yeah,
we have to be on the same page offensively. It's like baffling, I guess, to me that we got shut out in 4 games in a row, and we won 3 of those 4 games, and then this game we only scored 7. Yeah. This game was more understandable because Kentucky's offense isn't that potent, but yeah, I mean that's what good teams do, though. I think we're a good enough team that we can survive that way, but we're not going to go above and beyond the playoffs that way.
Right.
But yeah, we were kind of talking about this while we were watching it. We never really were concerned.
Yeah. Never felt like we were going to lose.
Those mistakes are really hard to watch, and like the Dylan Sampson fumble, that was also kind of concerning. If you're going to give the ball to him, if he's such a big part of your offense, then you don't want him to fumble. But he's broke the touchdown record, right? Yeah. So what can you really say about that?
To be fair to him, whenever he does fumble, they really got to pull it out. They really got to try to rip that thing out.
Yeah.
And it's usually a team effort, too.
Right.
Dan Key kind of had a low-key game, which was surprising, but he had a really good catch on Gibson, which I guess is not surprising. But
yeah, I mean, when Wimsatt goes in, they ran the ball 6 times in a row.
Yeah.
And then his first attempt was that Will Brooks pick.
Yeah.
I feel like they were pretty, limited. They were uncomfortable and limited in what they wanted to do with Wimsatt as their quarterback. But yeah, I mean, we kind of said that the Vandegrift to Dane Key connection had to be there for them to win, and it just wasn't. Like they busted off that big play at the beginning of the game. If they had kept those big plays up, then they would have had a chance. But again, there's just nothing really offensively that was like huge for them other than those select. Like they had like 3 big plays, which hurt us in the first half.
He averaged 6. He averaged 6 yards per carry.
Right.
But take away the 50-yard run, and that definitely will go down. I was pretty surprised by Kentucky's pace this game, and the amount of times. The amount of times that they passed it too.
Yeah.
27 times. That's 36 carries. So I guess that's on paper what I expected, but it just felt like they were throwing it a lot more often.
That's 2 more good points I meant to bring up. They played quicker than I thought they did. You talking about their pace?
Yeah.
Maybe they thought they could turn us over and set up good field position that way. But when Wimsatt comes in, I don't really think you want him to throw 10 passes at that point in the game. He kind of had to. Well, he had to because they were down, right?
Yeah.
Like on that last drive, I know they got hammered with penalties on that last drive, which kind of just killed them. But they he threw more passes than I think they wanted him to at that point.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this about our offense. Our last drive, or like second to last drive, really our game-winning drive, 91 yards.
Yeah, dude, that was
13 or 14 plays.
Yes.
We have really not seen that all season.
Nope, and that was we haven't seen it all season. That was a perfect mix of Nico and Dylan Sampson, just everything, kind of like the perfect storm right there, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was mainly impressed with Nico on that drive because he really looked like he was commanding that offense well, and he was playing well, and just everything.
But anyway, yes. So Kentucky gets the ball with like 4 minutes left. At first they had 10 minutes, and they probably were feeling okay about that. They get the ball with 4 minutes left after that long ass drive, and they just, like you said, the penalties were insane.
Yeah, they couldn't move the ball. It was at 3rd and 25 at one point.
Yeah.
Holding, false starts. I think maybe the effect of our D-line really came into play there, right? So
and the Neyland crowd.
Yeah, the crowd as well. I just don't think Wimsatt would ever he just never was going to be able to do it. I don't think. I think he has some talent, but it's not his time yet. I think he might be their quarterback one day, but not now.
They treat him like DJ Lagway.
Yeah, a little. They don't unleash him as much as Lagway because Lagway is way more talented.
So if I'm going to pick out an MVP, I think it's going to be Miles Kitselman because Nico played really well, and I think it's because Kitselman gave him the confidence on the first few drives.
Yep.
He was hitting him, and he was catching it, and I think Nico just was I don't know. The ego was rising because of that. And he helped a lot.
He really likes Kitselman. Kitselman doesn't have the most gaudiest stat line, but he has 12 catches and 3 of those are touchdowns. That's a pretty good rate for anybody.
On the season.
Yeah, on the season. Unfortunately, he's a senior. I know he transferred from Alabama, but that could have been a nice little connection going forward. Speaking of Nico, I picked him for my MVP. It was really hard not to pick Sampson. He had a good game, and he seeing him turn it on in the second half was really hopeful, I guess, during the game because they were doing a good job of balling him up, as I said in the first half. The SEC record is 28. So he needs 9 more in 4 games. That is only regular season, right?
I think so.
He could do it. He could just straight up get 4 or 5 touchdowns against UTEP, right?
Yeah. Derrick Henry set the record at 28. That's insane.
But so Sampson is tied for 10th right now in the SEC all time.
Oh, okay, cool.
So he can definitely get up there in probably the top 5. That 28 is a big number. But anyways, going back to Nico, as I said, I really feel like he had a big win share in this game. The stats aren't anything crazy for a good game for a quarterback. But yeah, he looked like he had rhythm. He looked like he knew what he was doing, and it actually looked like that bye week was helping him.
Yeah.
When I was watching the game, I feel like the game was slowing down for him. He didn't look as rushed. He was still kind of staring down his reach, which I wasn't a big fan of. But when you're only looking at one side of the field, like in Heupel's offense, you kind of have to do that, I guess. But yeah,
he was also feeling pressure, just more efficiently.
And then we all that's all things that we want him to do is be calm in the pocket, deliver the ball accurately. But he was also doing some of those 5-star stuff. He had a few on the run plays, which were amazing. That touchdown to Kitzelman, he rolled out right, cross body, other side of the field. He was wide open there. I mean, if we get this Nico, in the next few seasons, and we have receivers that can catch the ball, field goal kickers that can hit field goals, defense that plays like this, I think we can compete for a national championship.
I want to criticize Heupel, though. What does he have to do to get this team on the same page? And what does he have to do to get this team disciplined enough to stop having holding penalties?
I'm not sure about the penalties. My quick answer for the getting on the same page type of thing is probably just having them jail for a year. Because Nico, is playing with Brew and Squirrel, who are guys that have been there before him. He's pretty different. Like Hooker, Milton, and Nico are all pretty different guys, right?
Yeah.
So it might be hard for them to transition like that. But, in Nico's second year as a starter, we're going to have Brazel. They'll have a year of connection. If Squirrel stays, they'll have a year of connection. Mike Matthews. I'm really excited for that connection, the Nico to Mike Matthews connection, because they're going to be, they start at the same place basically.
Yeah, that's if Mike Matthews is as good as everyone hopes he is. Obviously, I hope he is.
I don't think we can worry about that now because we just haven't seen him.
Yeah.
He played good in the orange and white game, I believe. He's been pretty good in practice. We just have to wait for his time to come up.
Yeah.
He projects probably the third string receiver next year, second or third, so he'll definitely get his time to play.
So as you can see, Jason and I had predicted this game. We did it with the PCS, and if you don't know, the PCS is a really easy and fun way for you and your friends to predict the final score of Tennessee Volunteer games, and at the end, you'll get a prediction score, which will basically allow you to compare your prediction with your friends. So my prediction score, and let me say, 0 is a perfect prediction. All right, it's like golf numbers or whatever. I had a 40. That's an A. Jace, you had a 51, which is an A minus. But to be honest, though, I'm not super impressed with us, just because this is probably one of the easier games to predict that we've done so far.
I think you kind of see a trend of us getting better throughout the season. That should be how it is because we know our team's identity more. We know the opponent's identities more. We started I started 212 and 133. Had a really good win against Kent State, and then slowly but surely I'm kind of getting better. Kind of the same with you. We're in these double digits instead of triple digits more often. We're
starting to understand and just literally predict better.
We kind of said this in the Kentucky preview that they feel like one of the easiest teams to predict against in the SEC. So yeah, I'm fine with the 51. I'm beating you on the season, so as long as I don't lose to you by a bunch, just keep on kind of toughen it out, and then we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we're averaging around B, which I guess makes sense.
So let's think about the remaining games on the schedule. Next week, Mississippi State. We're going to drop a video this week breaking that game down, kind of talking about how to predict that one, what's going to happen in it.
Right.
My gut feeling is that we probably will score more in that game. Especially if Nico looks as good as he did. If he can continue to build on this, this is the best time to play well. Kind of the down stretch of the season going into the playoffs.
Right.
But Mississippi State's defense is pretty weak. I would predict. I wouldn't predict crazy numbers because we know what's been happening with us this season. But if there's any game to predict a higher score, probably be that one. Georgia's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough game. I think it'll be tough to predict as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because Georgia is. Well, they're interesting right now, I mean, they're winning games, but they're not winning them the way they want to.
Yeah, it's we can kind of expect Carson Beck to have a few turnovers, but it's all about if we can capitalize on that or not. If we have more just drop passes in the end zone,
we can't
capitalize.
We can't win if we play like that. But that's what I'm saying. It could go either way, right?
Yeah.
Texas scored 15. They also did horrible at capitalizing off of Beck's turnovers.
Yep.
Bama put up a bunch of points on Georgia. Mississippi State put up points on Georgia. We know you can put up points on Georgia. It's just really difficult, right? And, we need Nico to play well in that game. UTEP, I would probably say it's going to be pretty similar to, Kent State, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not as high scoring, but in that realm of a blowout.
We're going to, probably try not to let any of our players get hurt.
Right.
So it might be way less scoring in UTEP compared to
And-
Kent State.
As I was saying, I don't think Dylan Sampson is the type of guy to like feel this way. But if he wants to try to get that record, that's the game to do it. So we could see more points just because of that fact.
Yeah.
But the final game of the season is going to determine a lot of stuff for Tennessee and probably for our PCS, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that game is going to be easy to predict at all.
Yeah, Vandy. No idea how that's gonna go.
We've seen Vandy get held to, lower scores than they've been used to, and we are consistent because we don't score a lot of points, but that's the last game of the season. I don't know. That game could go either way. We damn sure don't want to lose it, of course,
No.
but yeah.
We'd be screwed if we lost that. So like I said, you can go onto the PCSonline.com and predict as well. It's just as easy as it seems. You type in the two numbers that you think you'll see at the end of the game, and you'll get your prediction score. And if you enjoyed our content, then please consider subscribing and liking the video. Again, this is Shea and Banana.
Go Vols!
Go Vols!